Gods damn it! How the hell are you meant to sit or lie down in this thing? Allura cursed, as she flopped out of the hammock. With practice? Jack laughed his ass off as the Eladri gave him a mean look. Funnily enough, the others had coped well enough after some practice, doing some final preparations on the night before the run. Chio simply used her powers to levitate and stabilize herself, Nika used her tail, and Scifi was nimble enough to get the hang of it by following his movements. I'm surprised it felt so comfy, Nika grinned. I wasn't expecting that. Plus, it should be better on the carry weight now that we've gotten ourselves some lighter sleeping bags rather than bedrolls. Those are well worth the price, Scifi agreed. Not packed with stuffing, lightweight, and super compact. I figured we'd be sleeping on the floor for this run. The hammocks are great. While sleeping rough was an option, it's preferable to stay fresh when you can, Chio pointed out, as Laura nodded in agreement. And I have no doubt these hammocks will be quite useful, though if we can't find a way to hang them off the ground, we really will be sleeping on the ground. Or at least you will. The Alethi chuckled, floating in the air as a demonstration. This is perfect, Hesia, thank you. Jack nodded to the insectoid girl, who seemed relieved at the praise, as she gave a long, contented sigh. Good. I was worried about the material not being strong enough, but it seemed to hold up fine under my test well enough. How many do you want? Including this one, I'd say 2 or 3, Nika pondered. 2 to a hammock sleeping head to toe, or otherwise if you're so inclined. She gave a very unsubtle wink to Jack. Though we'll have at least 2 guards awake at all times. Chio doesn't need it, and Dante may prefer to sleep on the floor, so maybe 2 is best. Maybe 3 would be better? Jack suggested, as he recalled his times camping with the scouts. We don't really know what the weather will be like over there, so one could double up as an emergency shelter if we need it. That's actually a good point. Let's make it 3, Nika nodded. Save the design as well. Others might enjoy it too, Scifi added with a grin, clearly having some kind of ulterior motive. Alright, 3 hammocks in total. I'll get the others done for you. Hesia chirped in response as she left the room, leaving the Shadowrunners on their own. Well, sleep is sorted, though whoever I'm sharing with will need to help me get into this damnable thing, Allura chuckled. How are we on food? Brought some good MREs for the occasion, Nika confirmed, though if it makes sense to pay for a hot meal at Cypherport, then I suggest we do it. Also got some drink powders to go with them. I'll stick the majority of them in with yours and Chio's stuff, since Jack, Scifi, and myself will be taking the hammocks. That's fair, Chio acknowledged with a nod. I also have a way of purifying water to drink, though it's much slower with salt water. While we'll be taking bottles anyway, it means we won't need to take enough for over 3 days at least. Realistically, if the local area had farmers or ranchers in the past, they must have had a good way to get water, Jack pointed out. So I reckon we'll be fine. What I'm worried about is trying to go on a hike in a set of body armor. We're picking it all up from Clan Barzam on the day, so if anything goes wrong... I imagine it will be well fitted, but I would be prepared to not take it off until we get back. Allura grimaced at the sentiment. The sleeping bags should still be large enough and can be zipped open. Just be careful when using them. Should be lightweight enough. You just need to get used to moving around, Nika shrugged. Better protection is always good, and we'll have our battle skins underneath. I still want us to be able to have something to wear over it so we stay incognito. Speaking of which, Scifi, where's the Corvin place we're going to take off from? Alright, so Corvin Enterprises have 3 distribution hubs near enough to Clan Barzam territory, and far enough from theirs, the scritter began, bringing up a projection of the city on the table. But since you want us to be quiet, I figured we could go for the westernmost one here, she pointed. Mostly quiet and just serves the local Corvmarts. Not a serious target for the Megacorps, and from what I can tell, it goes on a circuit around a few outlying towns collecting stock, which then gets offloaded at a factory in Corvin territory, before coming back with finished product, though we'll be off by then. So there should be more than enough room to hitch a ride. Chio nodded in agreement. Good choice. How long would it take to get to Cypherport? Jack asked. I calculated the distance, and it should be about 3 or 4 hours, the scritter shrugged. Though I'm guessing it'll probably be more since the workers need to move shit. Depends on how quick they are. Sounds good enough to me, Allura nodded. Though I prefer to get to Cypherport in good time and get passage out of there. The quicker we keep travelling, the more time we have to investigate what we need. So get a few more hours of sleep on the boat trip if the skipper is cool with leaving during the night on short notice. Jack nodded in agreement. Less people to worry about.
Now we've got some maps and coordinates. How long do you all think the boat journey would take? Chio asked, pointing to the folder of files she and Jack had downloaded from the library. It's almost 70 miles away to the Corvin outpost as the river flows, so this will likely be one of the longest parts of the journey, Nika warned. It depends on the craft the river giants are using, but I expect it'll probably take a while.
So sitting on our asses doing nothing for a while, Scifi shrugged. Doesn't sound too bad. Then since we found out the area we're going to was settled at some point, Jack continued, the terrain shouldn't be too bad. It'll be a bit of a hike, but no massive hills or anything at least.
Thank goodness for that, Chio sighed in relief. However, the records we got are several centuries old with no mention of the shrine, though we obviously have the coordinates and can plot a course. It's something at least, Allura acknowledged as she got up. I think we've done all the legwork we reasonably can. Sort out your loadouts and get some last-minute practice in. Eat well, sleep well, and get ready.
Jack did not sleep well that night. Though he and his friends had all planned and prepared as much as they could, the anticipation had been building up inside him of what was to come, of heading into danger once again. As a faint breeze whispered through the house and gently touched Jack's face, it transformed into the whizzing of plasma passing over his head as he saw the clowns coming at him once again with murderous intent. He growled as he thrashed about in his sleep to fend them off, suddenly sitting up in bed as his eyes snapped open, wide and unseeing. The sights of danger flashed in his mind like a stop-motion horror movie that simply would not stop. The darkness of the room in front of him twisted and warped until he saw the fleshy monstrosity that was the spawn of Nekton trapping him and his friends, and he felt the crawling sensation all over his body of the foul creatures it spawned, feasting on his terror. The faces of the cultists, snarling and without fear. The drow, sneering and sly.
This isn't real, Jack gasped as he tried to breathe.
The weight of his memories forcing themselves down on him, threatening to suffocate him with their unbreakable grip. The darkness shifted once again, until he was face to face with the terrifying visage of a monstrous cyber-zombie. He had barely escaped the thing, and it was still out there, waiting.
No, Jack gasped, choking on his own breath.
He shut his eyes tight and gripped at his head, holding on for dear life as he tried to escape. But it wouldn't stop.
Conclusion complete.
His memory of the Oracle's answer returned with the same feeling of absolute dread he felt when his hopes were brutally crushed.
Possibility of return to home plane of existence, based on current information, impossible.
Interference detected with Avatar.
The cold, cybernetic voice of Malakil snapped as Jack recalled from the flashback.
Physical outsider presence confirmed.
I still listen to the void, waiting for his whispers.
The mad words of Debaku pounded in his mind.
He is there. I still hear him. He told me about the Great Watcher. My essence has been corrupted.
The memory of his meeting with the Oracle returned to Jack in a thunderous boom.
Someone has... What could possibly...
Unauthorized secondary presence detected.
Malakil snarled with the puppet of Debaku.
Unknown faction. Threat level extreme.
We know about the spawn of Nekton. The memory of Dr. Grimes spoke back at him with a sneer. And the one that summoned it will see you dead.
Get out of my head!
Jack cried back, as his trembling fingernails dug into his scalp, fighting with all of his will to push the sensations away. He tried to focus on what was real. The warm fabric of his duvet, the distant murmur of his friend's snores and the pattern of his own breathing, matching the rhythm of the panicked breaths he took while experiencing the memories for real. Slowly, painstakingly, he clawed his way back from the abyss as the echoes of the past finally faded away. For now. Daring to open his exhausted, fearful eyes again, Jack simply saw the darkness of his room, with the faint glow of light from the twinkling stars outside his window.
Beads of sweat still clung to his forehead, and his hands continued to tremble as he groaned and got out of bed, hearing the sound of quiet clawing at his door. He quickly opened it as a worried Dante padded in, looking up at him in concern. Jack decided not to say anything, as he knelt down and gave the dog a few scratches behind the ears, and stroked his fur before getting up and heading downstairs to get a drink, opening and closing his hands as he did to try and stop the trembling, as Dante followed him silently. Keeping quiet as he went to the kitchen, he filled his bottle of water and slipped out of the back door, deciding to have a walk around the district to try and clear his head, with the rhythmic steps gradually releasing the tension he had still kept built up within him. "Can't sleep either?" a voice called out gently, as he walked yet another lap of the district. "Hey, Vanya," Jack called back, as the tuner walked over to join him in her pink dressing gown. "I didn't wake you up, did I?" "I was already restless," she admitted, clutching a steaming mug of tea. "But I heard you having a hard time of it. Are you all right?" "Yeah, I'm fine," Jack lied. "Just some nerves before we head out to investigate what happened to a bunch of space hippies. No big deal. What about you?" "I'm better than where I was before," the tuner admitted. "But sometimes when I close my eyes, all I see are the faces of those clowns looming over me that tried to—" She stopped for a moment to center herself. "They didn't, thanks to you. But I felt so powerless." "Hey," Jack stopped her. "They're gone now, and you're safe here." "I would say the same to you," the tuner retorted. "But I don't think the scars will completely go away." "No, they won't," Jack admitted with a sigh, fighting in his mind to stay strong. "But at least you said it's getting better for you." "Yeah," Vanya sighed. "I'll keep thinking I've escaped it until someone surprises me by touching me or I have another nightmare. Then I have to remember it all over again." "I know what you mean," Jack nodded with a grimace. "When I think I've gotten over some of the shit I've been through and it feels like I'm living it again. Doesn't happen all the time, but when it does..." "It's the worst," Vanya agreed. "I'm going to stay down here for a bit and check on the copperbacks. What about you?" "I'm going to keep walking until my head's on straight." Jack tried his best to smile. "Then I'll go to bed. Doubt I'll sleep, though." "I could join you if you want to cuddle," Vanya grinned. "Might be good for the both of us." "Tempting, but no," Jack grinned, now feeling better. "Then I definitely won't be sleeping." "Morning, all," Scifi grinned as she bounded downstairs.
Damn, Jack, you look like shit. No offense.
"Good morning to you too, Sephirina," Jack quipped back, sticking his tongue out at the scritter. Despite staying outside for quite a while during the night, he had eventually tired himself out again and caught another hour or two of sleep. With his nightmares, he figured he had as much rest as he was going to get. At least his adrenaline was working to keep him going. "I take it you didn't sleep well?" Nika asked with a knowing look. "It's all good. The anticipation gets to all of us, but once we're on the job, you should be able to relax once we're in transit. Did you use your Ring of Lesser Restoration?" "Nope," Jack shook his head. "I'm not that bad, and it's probably better to save the charges for when we really need them." "Jack, you should take some energy drinks instead," Chio suggested, likely knowing full well what he had gone through during the night. "They'll keep you going." "Sure," Jack groggily shrugged. "Since we don't exactly have coffee here, I'll take what I can get." "Catch!" Scifi called out, as she lobbed a few cans at Jack, who didn't bother trying to catch them in his state, simply moving out of the way as they landed safely on the sofa. He picked one up and opened it, not caring about the spray of fizz as he just chugged it down. "All right, are we all packed and ready to head out the moment we get home from school?" Allura asked the team with raised eyebrows. "Yep," Scifi called back, with confirming nods from the rest of them. "Really hope we don't get much homework, especially stuff that needs datanet access." "We usually do for history, but I suspect Mr. Sparrow will go easy on us," Chio shrugged. "If not, we still have the rest of the week to do it." "Thank fuck for that," Nika sighed. "Apart from that, we're all prepped and ready to go. Like we discussed, reducing our transit time as much as possible is key, so I check everything again now before we head off so we don't forget anything." "Yes, Mother." Jack sarcastically rolled his eyes as he slumped out of the sofa, chuckling as the kitten threw a pillow at the back of his head, She's right and you know it, Allura giggled as she told them all. Get to it now, then we can head off once you're done.
All right, class, get your seats. We haven't got all day.
Sister Tshirt prattled, as Jack and Allura sat down for their religious and philosophical education class.
Hi, Jack,
came the very familiar voice of Luvia, who seemed to appear out of absolutely nowhere, as the dragon quickly bounded over and took the seat on the other side of him, putting an arm around him in the process to the human chagrin. Hi, Luvia, Jack gulped. He really didn't need this right now, but before the dragon could say anything, the teacher continued, as the rest of the students found their seats.
As you all know, just as many good and just deities exist among the cosmos, so too exists the exact opposite, the priestess began. Sadly, the foul plots and deeds of these entities affect us all, despite our best efforts. So today, we shall be learning about several of them that are known to have worshippers local to our city. Who can give me an example?
Nobody volunteered, causing the teacher to sigh.
Fine. Looks like I'll have to pick on someone. How about our newest student? Where is Mr. Frost?
Oh, for fuck's sake, why me? Jack thought to himself, as he stood up to be seen by the teacher. I'm here. Does the Destroyer count?
Very good, Sister Tshirt acknowledged, though an obvious one. The deity known as the Destroyer has no known name, and is the primal god of entropy that seeks total destruction and nothing else. Though it has followers that are able to tap into its divine power for clerical spells, it otherwise cannot be communicated with, cannot be reasoned with, and ultimately cannot be stopped.
We stopped his asshole cultists, at least, Jack muttered under his breath as he sat down, and nearly jumped as Luvia's hand began to caress his buttock.
Really?
Allura whispered to the dragon, who turned to give Jack a seductive look and a puff of warm air which caressed his face. Stop it, Luvia.
Fine,
Luvia whispered back, removing the hand.
I have no idea what human mating rituals involve, so you'll have to excuse me for my trial and error.
As violence and death all contribute to his divine mantle in some way,
Sister Tshirt continued.
Whether you worship it or not, every act of destruction brings it ever closer to total obliteration. Now, can anybody name any other gods?
Jack could see Rail get to their feet. He was happy for the diminutive squawk car, who had definitely gotten a confidence boost from the events of the previous weekend. Critch seemed happy about it too, even though he was very much perturbed about the way it happened.
Gunge is the god of the Zorn tribes,
they spoke up, as the teacher nodded in agreement.
Indeed, the particularly foul god of disease,
Sister Tshirt informed them,
though has other portfolios too. Disfigurement, decay, and filth, to name a few. Locally, he is known to be the patron god of the Zorn tribes, and indeed, he has much sway with primitive tribes that are easily tempted by evil. However, there are also those that worship him in secret, with hidden shrines and churches dedicated to him. Beware the plague bringers, those blessed by Gunge's favour in the form of horrific mutagens and viruses, with the divine mandate to spread it far and wide. Whenever they are discovered, they must be hunted down and killed before they can spread, and burned in holy fire.
Sister Tshirt then paused for a moment, as if remembering something.
Now it is important to take note that the goals and portfolios of these gods are not aligned in the slightest, she warned. While the Destroyer seeks destruction, Gunge, for example, seeks growth, foul as that growth may be. Though cooperation can occur with evil deities, their natural proclivity for treachery makes such alliances tentative at best.
The teacher then looked around.
Any more? Come on, don't be shy. All right, let's see.
She looked down the register, poking at a name with her pen.
Plutaroo?
The Ploof stood up from nearby, as several of the guys hid there chuckling at him being stitched up.
The clowns have a god. Was it Jingu something?
Close enough, the sister sighed. The god you speak of is Jingabosh, the mad god of killers. As many of you know, this is the god worshipped by the killer clown and his clown followers, with the killer clown widely believed to be the divine hero of Jingubash. The mad god seeks only sadistic entertainment from his followers, which unfortunately the killer clown provides them with in spades. Many a killer within the city has managed to attract their favor with particularly inventive and gruesome murders too. Though as these madmen are encouraged to make greater and greater spectacles, they are usually found out and eliminated in the process.
The teacher paused for a moment to allow that to sink in before continuing.
Any more? There's Balsulthul?
A voice spoke up from the crowd, and Sister Jeta nodded.
Indeed. The god of pain is one of the most twisted and evil deities to exist, Sister Jeta informed them. It's been the root of countless tortures, murderers and worse throughout time, and its priesthood is widely feared for good reason. They mutilate themselves in vicious ways to become closer to their god, reveling in their misery, and they have no qualms on inflicting these gifts on others. Though followers are known to exist in the city, there is no centralized organization known of, despite worshippers having a clearly defined hierarchy among themselves, based on power. The ability to endure pain, and the ability to inflict it. Be wary, however, as many followers are known to hide their faith. If you suspect anyone of being a Zulfite, the Church of Cyrus investigates such cases seriously, and the guilty are put to death.
Understandable, Jack noted, as the teacher began looking for more volunteers.
Fine, since nobody is volunteering, let's see. Luvianestics?
Damn it! The dragon cursed under her breath as she stood up.
Evokos, the god of envy.
I shall accept that, the teacher nodded. Though it can be argued that the Duchess of Desire is not as foul or as evil as any of the gods previously mentioned, she is still dangerous despite being tolerated by most. She has many worshippers, thieves, business people, the ambitious, and many more, and her whispers tempt more followers across the realms with each passing second.
I hate being picked on, the dragon grumbled under her breath as she began to sit back down. Honestly, why not just tell... The dragon jolted upright, quickly having the wits to cover it as a sudden cough, as she realized what Jack had done. Turn around is fair play, Jack whispered with a grin, as his hand cupped the dragon's ass cheek, just as she had done to him. Her scales were not as rough and hard as he thought they would be, though he still winced as he felt his hand getting crushed. Though you're a bit heavier than I was expecting.
Oh no, you did not just say that,
Luvia whispered back with a huff, while Alora tried to stifle a laugh.
I've been attempting for weeks to engage you in a goddamn courting ritual I don't even know the infernal rules for. And every time we're in a public setting that isn't school, I either hardly see you around, or I don't see you at all. No more!
Calm down, Luvia, Alora chuckled under her breath. Just enjoy the moment. Can I have my hand back? Jack asked sheepishly.
You may not,
Luvia told him in no uncertain terms, as she got more comfortable.
I am quite satisfied with its current location.
All right, Jack chuckled under his breath. The dragon was damn persistent. He'd give her that.
On the topic of location,
the dragon continued,
where are you this weekend?
We're on a job, Luvia, Alora told her before Jack had the chance. You know we can't tell you. We're not acting against the Red Legion, at least.
I should damn well hope you're not,
the dragon huffed back.
Fine, but I demand a date.
November 12th. Jack grinned back, causing a few of the students eavesdropping around them to chuckle quietly. Luvia gazed at him with an intense stare.
Don't play smart,
she growled under her breath.
You don't want to know how pent up I've been, and you've been evading my claws for too long.
Jack wasn't sure what to think of that. He had been warned about the possessiveness of dragons, and he was pretty sure they had already long passed into creepy territory. But he wasn't exactly against the idea.
Fine, Jack sighed. I'm sure we'll work something out.
And finally, for your homework, Sister Jeta concluded, you are to research and present on the history of 3 evil deities of your choice. I expect 1,000 words on each, due in 2 weeks.
The class collectively groaned at that one, as they stood up and began to make their leave. Jack and Alora did so quickly, after giving Luvia their polite farewells.
Nearly time, Alora began.
Yup, Jack nodded.
Can't wait.